Hello, everyone, and welcome to the most important part of the day. No disrespect to our medical professionals here, but I am the B team. Dr. Stanton couldn't make it. My name is Thom Mrozek. I am a 14-year cancer survivor. For those of you keeping score, PDAC, stage 2B with 3 lymph nodes, Whipple, and FOLFIRINOX. We have 4 distinguished and super interesting guests that are going to talk about their journeys, their experiences, and probably a little bit of hope this afternoon. So we're going to begin by them introducing themselves for a minute or two, and then I'll pose a few questions, and we'll probably have a couple of minutes for questions at the end. So, Federico, tell us about yourself.
Thank you, Tom. My name is Federico Kalinek. I am 74 years old. And when I was 14 years ago, I was diagnosed with PNET, pancreatic neuroendocrine tumor. I was doing fine, and suddenly I had some digestive problems, and I was yellow. I have jaundice, and then I had a CT scan, and they discovered that actually I had a very, very extensive tumors with metastasis, and the jaundice was related to the compression of the biliary duct. The tumor was compressing the biliary duct, and then that was the reason of the jaundice. Immediately, I had a stent put there, and the oncologist surgeon told me that, well, unfortunately, it was a lot of metastasis, a lot of lesions. I have even very esophageal varices, very, very protruding. And then he said that the prognosis was not good. He told me that probably I had only 2 months to 3 months top to live. Then he told me, go home, make your arrangements, I enjoy life. Well, that was a shock. Fortunately, I was very lucky. I found one surgeon that accepted the challenge to make a Whipple. I have a big Whipple. My pancreas was removed completely. That's the reason that I am diabetic now. I have an insulin pump permanently. They removed part of my stomach, spleen, duodenus, jejunum, even the portal system was compromised, and then I had some vascular surgery. They took part of my jugular to repair the vena porta. And everything was fine. But close to 2 years later, the metastasis, increased in liver. Then I had a second surgery. They removed my right lobe of the liver. But the new therapy was available with lanreotide at that time. And, well, it was keeping me alive for close to 4 more years. 2020, again, metastasis in liver started growing, but was a new therapy approved. That was Lutathera, that is PRRT, probably you know about that, protein receptor radioligand treatment. And Lutathera was working great for me until last year, that again, I have some recurrence, and I have now a couple of metastases in liver, but I repeat the treatment with Lutathera November and last January, 2 months ago, 3 months ago. And I cross my fingers. I am doing quite well, and I hope that if I have any problem, it will be available another, new therapy, and well, perhaps in 40 or 50 years more, I will be talking about the new therapies.
Now we're talking. Thanks, Federico. I
Welcome.
believe Federico is the first PNET patient, is that correct, who's been on the survivor panel. So welcome, and thanks for sharing your experiences. Jeanette.
We are both total pancreatectomy survivors. Hello, my name is Jeanette Reedy Solano, and I'm going to read so I don't go over my time just for this part, for the summary. So my path to diagnosis was a tumultuous 10-month roller coaster. An incidental finding on the abdominal ultrasound in December 23 saw something odd, an IPMN, we thought, and the liver doctor never told me about it. 6 months later, I discovered it in the radiologist's report, and I said, this is not good. Can we have an MRI? We pushed for an MRI, which led to an EUS in July of 2024. A fine needle biopsy, no cancer was detected. But the doctor said my pancreas looked, quote, odd and dark. And I said, well, that's not good. Then we went on. I asked at that point for a CA 19-9. He said, it's not diagnostic. I said, humor me, just run it. And he did, and that was my first red flag of saying something's really wrong. I finally, at this point, I got into UCLA. I met with Dr. Muthusamy. We all thought, oh, she has a branch duct IPMN. Didn't turn out to be the case. I was finally diagnosed with PDAC on August 26, 2024. Then I went to get another opinion at Johns Hopkins, where I got staged to stage 3 cancer because of the venous and arterial complications with my tumor in the neck of the pancreas, which was now 4.2 centimeters. They said, you're inoperable. At that point, I sent my daughter, my 19-year-old daughter, and my college roommate out of the room, and I said, give it to me straight. What's my prognosis? And they said, quite typically, you have 3 to 6 months to live if you do nothing. You have 2 years to live if you're one of the people that are responsive to chemotherapy. And you have a 40% chance of being alive in 5 years if you're one of the lucky few who gets to surgery. So I said to myself, well, I'll take door number 3. And I focused on getting to surgery. That same night, while still in the shock of this prognosis, I had a video consult with Dr. Donahue. And Dr. Donahue is a glass half full kind of surgeon, and so much more optimistic. He said he gave me hope that maybe I was borderline. And I thought I might be a candidate for one of the new trials they're having here at UCLA. So I met with Dr. Wainberg. I convinced him to get me into the trial, and I started a trial along with FOLFIRINOX for 11 rounds for the next 5 months, which is standard of care. But in addition to that, I was able to have 2 immunotherapy drugs that worked on the adenosine, and we can talk more later about that. But anyways, I went on this for 5 months. It was grueling. We've all been there. Chemo's hard. And in addition to this, I'm going to add what else I did in my protocol. 1, prayer, lots of it. One-on-one yoga, nidra, which is like yogic psychotherapy. Inspiring books, nutrition, especially my beloved husband's green smoothies every morning. And acupuncture, massage, all of this. After 5 months of FOLFIRINOX and the trial drugs, my tumor had shrunk from 4.2 centimeters to 0.33. I had this inoperable girl, had 5 surgeons around the nation, top surgeons, who were willing to take me to surgery. So don't give up. There is so much hope. 1 month later, in March 2025, I had a total pancreatectomy splenectomy. Dr. Donahue cut out 5 organs from my body and 43 lymph nodes. I had clear margins, and no lymph nodes had cancer. And today I celebrate 1 year and 1 month being cancer-free. And I've traveled the world to celebrate, so life goes on.
That's a great story of hope. Peter?
Let's see. I'll read here. I like the start. In September 2023, after frequent urination, unexplained weight loss, and an annual checkup, I was diagnosed with diabetes. While I had no other symptoms, an ultrasound of my abdomen revealed a mass later confirmed to be stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And since that time, I felt a mixture of simultaneous fear and hope and confusion, clarity, and peace. And it happens all at the same time. Let's see, my faith in God and a supportive community of friends, along with an immediate treatment plan, gave me the hope and structure I needed to keep moving forward despite the uncertainty. After initially responding well to 3 types of chemotherapy, for those of you keeping track at home, I did FOLFIRINOX for about 6 months, and then I did Gemabrax with a clinical trial drug at UCLA, and NALIRIFOX for 10 months. So after initially responding well to 3 types of chemotherapy, including a clinical trial, and some radiation at UCLA, over the past couple of years, I am now once again seeking another clinical trial, both for my own health and to move the research forward. Since I wrote this, I am now enrolled in a clinical trial, and who knows, I'm gonna find out my CT results on Tuesday. So we'll find out what's going on there. The patient survivor's life is quite complicated. I feel it requires looking beyond yourself, both spiritually and physically, and it hones in on who you are and what your priorities are. The support of organizations like the Hirshberg Foundation, a proactive medical staff, support groups, and a village of personal friends help me live a life beyond just staying alive. And I really have to say, the caregivers often have the hardest job. They really, really do. I mean, they carry our stress of what we're going through, and they carry their own stress of just dealing with it. And I also have to say, they also carry some survivor's guilt, too. Sorry to say that. But through it all, I've seen the best and most beautiful parts of life and community in some difficult circumstances. And what I want to also say is that these two were part of a support group, a Zoom support group. Federico is auxiliary. He's going to be part of it soon. But this community really, really helps. And when I walk in these doors of this symposium, I do feel like it's home, because I am lost in this craziness of this disease, but I'm with a bunch of people that are walking the same road with me. So I really appreciate it. I appreciate the medical information and staff, the encouragement and the structure we're giving to this just very, very crazy life. And I so appreciate the symposium. Thank you.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing that we're able to share these experiences with each other, and good luck with the results in this coming week. Alice?
Hi. I was having pain or discomfort from my chest to my abdomen, and I had had pancreatitis about 3 years before, and I was watching TV, and all these people were dying of pancreatic cancer on TV, and I thought, I bet I have pancreatic cancer, because I jumped to conclusions. And so I went to the ER, and I insisted they were not going to look at my abdomen, and I insisted that they do that. And they found a tumor in my chest, and they found a tumor on my pancreas. And the tumor on my pancreas was about the size of a grapefruit, they said. So they didn't think either one was cancer. One came back pre-cancer, and the one on my chest came back as just like a golf ball that looked really smooth and no problem. And a number of doctors looked at it. And in 5 days, I found out I had 2 kinds of cancer. So the first time I found out, I got a call from my pulmonologist, and he said, Alice, I can't believe this, but you've got lymphoma. And I was in the middle of a very contentious deposition. When I got back to it, I was not nice to the attorney, I can just tell you that. And in fact, the attorney asked me what I was charging my client, and I said, I don't know. She said, you mean you're doing things free for your client? I said, yes. Why? Because I feel sorry for her, and she can't afford all this. And they said, but you're charging us $500 an hour. And I said, well, I don't feel sorry for you. So I found out I had lymphoma, and then I went into surgery, which I thought was going to be a 5-hour surgery. And by the way, the lymphoma doesn't bother me. I've apparently had it for at least 8 years. the doctor said, you have an indolent tumor. I said, you mean a lazy tumor? He said, yeah. I said, well, that's everything you want in a tumor. And so I went in for the surgery on my pancreas. They thought it was going to be 5 hours. It was 13 and a half. They thought they got everything. I had some things in my lungs, but they were really tiny. Nobody could tell if they were just normal growths in your lung. And so I did 6 months of FOLFIRINOX, and they found out I had metastasis in my lung, which was like a gut punch to me, because I rang the bell. I thought it was over. And since then, I've had I've been on Abraxane and Gemzar. I've had a little bit of a recurrence where my stomach was sewn up, but I'm doing really well. I continued to work throughout my treatment. I've continued to have a social life. I have wonderful friends and family and support, and they have been terrific. They made a chemo train, because my initial chemo was at 8 o'clock in the morning, and my partner, that would be practice for going to hell for her, to have to get up at 8 in the morning or get me there. But my friends that have been taking me to chemo said, Alice, when do you start chemo again? They were almost like disappointed. I was on a 6-month break from chemo. I mean, I'm so grateful for this community. I'm so grateful for meeting Amy and Julie and Thom, who does our support group, and God, Jeanette and Peter have been with me, and so I'll be over 2 years out in June, and I'm very grateful.
It is always so disheartening to be watching a TV show and someone to get diagnosed, and it's like, oh, they're going to kill that person off, probably in the next half an hour. It's always very disturbing. So besides consuming popular media like that, and just the overall gut punch of being diagnosed, the day-to-day getting through of chemo, the surgery, whatever these circumstances are, what has been the most challenging aspect of your experience, and how did you navigate it? And let's start with Alice and come down this way.
I think for me, I didn't know what to expect with side effects. I said, I don't feel like I have cancer. I feel like I have side effects. And so the first bunch of side effects were very difficult. A lot of nausea. I did take pot gummies. First time in my life, I told all my nieces and nephews, Auntie is 77 and taking pot gummies now. But I think that was really hard, and I couldn't, I had no appetite, and I had a deep vein thrombosis, then I didn't like food. I would get nauseated all the time. The second chemo, which they told me would be easier and I wouldn't lose my hair, was when I lost my hair, which I didn't really care because I'm rocking the turbans, and I liked my bald head. I kind of enjoyed it, but that was kind of a joke because I had my appetite back. I was really excited about eating, and I couldn't taste food. So it was like a little joke on me, and it kind of made me laugh. And so I did okay. I was able to do, everything until, I think I was supposed to have 12 treatments. And the 10th one, I got so I couldn't walk from my front door to my back door without taking a break. And I said, my energy is so important to me, being able to fight this. And so I stopped chemo then, and I was on a 6-month break. I had radiation recently, and that was worse to me than the chemo. I had way worse side effects because the radiation was on my stomach. But I'm feeling really good now, and I'm able to eat now. I wasn't able to eat, and I feel really good and really, really lucky and really energized, and so.
Great.
Yeah.
Let's see, for me, I don't know why I wrote this. I said, I don't know anything. So that's when this started, the hardest, I'll be honest, the chemo, it's okay. The chemo's not that bad. It was much, much, much easier, I don't want to say easy, but it was much more comfortable and manageable than I ever expected. I've gone through 3 types. I've lost hair, I've lost weight. It's been uncomfortable, but it's been manageable. What was unexpected, though, was one aspect. There was just a flood of emotions of being afraid and totally comfortable, and I'm ready to deal with this, and what the heck is going on? And I would feel all these things all at once, and it was so confusing to me. Also, you realize you get stripped of a lot of things. I got stripped of a lot of identity, abilities. I couldn't walk in a straight line anymore, and all I had was my good looks. And why are you laughing? No, and all these parts get stripped away. Your independence, and you're like, who am I?
Yeah.
Who am I? And should I bucket list and go to Disney World every day? And I'm just like, no, I'm not that guy. So you really get stripped away, and that was that was a challenge for me. And the other thing is, I've been around cancer since my mom had breast cancer 40 years ago. I've supported so many of my friends. But when it became my turn, it was different. I thought I was so full of it. I was just like, all the little platitudes I would say, like, you got this. And I was like, oh man, I don't want to hear that right now.
Yeah.
And it was just different when it happened to me when I was in the driver's seat. And I guess the last thing is that it's a very private, solitude, lonely experience. I have loving people that sit right by me, and they're with me the whole time. But I'm the one that's feeling ill from the chemo, or I'm the one that doesn't want to complain because I have fatigue, and it's very it's a little bit lonely sometimes, and I got to be honest. I once again, being here in this community, having people in support group, we have a Zoom group, and I've tried to make a big effort to meet with people face to face. And just get together with them. And it just makes it so much more human, makes it more real. I've seen Alice in this group for like over a year. First time we saw each other, we just hugged each other and said, you're real,
And we cried.
And we cried.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, I'm not alone in this. Maybe you can't make sense of this as much as nobody can make sense of this. None of this makes any sense. None of this makes any sense. Why? I have a friend that passed away 2 months after his diagnosis. I'm here almost 3 years. None of this makes any sense. And I'm tired of being a judge over, this is why this guy's living and this is why this guy isn't. Forget it. All that's out the window. None of this makes any sense, but at least, being with these guys, being in this situation, okay, I'm not crazy. I'm not doing this alone. And that really, really helps, and it gives you hope. Sorry, that's basically it.
Jeanette?
It's always hard coming after Peter. He's actually a really good poet, and he's funny, and he's just the heart of
And single.
Zoom group.
And,
And single. We're going to work on that.
So biggest challenges, I have 3 of them. One is post-surgery becoming, like you, a 3C type diabetic. This is something that every hour of every day is difficult to manage. And even if you do everything right, you're still, I live in the Alps, I say. You do everything right. So being a diabetic is really difficult. But it's not going to be what kills me. Okay, it's just not. So I just how do I manage it? I'm learning to manage it with tech that I'm very thankful for, but it's a big life change. Let's see, trying to get into trials. I've been trying for 13 months to get into a vaccine trial of some type and knock on a lot of doors, and I'm just not eligible until the cancer comes back. And it's very frustrating, and it's a full-time job. So, I mean, I've got some leads today, so it gives me a little bit of hope. So I constantly keep asking. That's one way I navigate it. And then finally, I think the recurrence is always there, the fear of recurrence. And I think a lot of us are type A people that like to have a plan, and they follow the plan, and you just don't know with this disease. You don't know what the future holds, and it can change. And I love your attitude because it just rolls with it, and you just don't know the future, and you can't make many plans. But I'm starting to make plans. So I think the mental part of this is so huge, and losing friends. I've lost 8 friends to pancreatic cancer this year. And that's a huge, huge part of the reality of my life now, because I dare to love people, and I lose them. And I just lost one last week that I was really close to. And so I think, how do I deal with that? I cry, I mourn, I show up at the memorial services, but it's hard, and it's a whole other element of this. If you dare to make relationships, you're gonna lose people. And so I think that's a big challenge that I didn't really think about a year ago.
Federica?
Okay. I think that probably my biggest challenge was try to survive the initial shock, in the sense that everything was great in my life, actually. I was just coming back from one nice vacations with my wife, and 3 days I was feeling bad, and then the physician was telling me that I had only 2 months to live. You know, that was hard to really realize that was the truth, and try to organize these 2 months was really a challenge. Not only in the personal thing. I was working with a group of people that was depending on me, 10 young people, and then try to organize, you know, even the life for these people in 2 months. Then, to me, to look for some more time was really the critical point. I remember talking with my surgeon and said, well, perhaps surgery can give me some more time. And he told me, well, if everything goes okay, could be 1 year. And I say, 1 year, 2 months to 1 year is 6 times, you know, more. That was huge. Was incredible. Then, what is the good side of that? That now I take, you know, I have 14 years of survivor. Every day is a gift. Every day, you know, to me is something new that I can enjoy, and I retired a few years ago, and I am happy. Not because I am not working. I am happy because I can enjoy more life. 1 moment ago, I was outside under the sun, eating. You know, many times you don't appreciate these small things. And I think that my problems, I don't know how to call it, help me to appreciate some small things and try to, you know, really give thanks for life.
Absolutely. The gratitude part is something that I feel every day, and with the passing of time, because I'm an idiot, I have to remind myself of that sometimes, that, you know, it's a real blessing. That's you know, one of the benefits, at least for me, that's come out of it is to have a deeper, fuller appreciation of life. But let's turn it over a little bit and talk about what has surprised you during your journey? Obviously, getting diagnosed is a pretty big surprise, I'm going to say, for everybody here. But let's start with you, Federico, and talk about what the heck surprised you, man?
Actually, surprise to me the new therapies. You know, the increase in the responses of the science and physicians and everything to our situations. When I was diagnosed 14 years ago, basically the only therapy for me was surgery. The only one available was some chemotherapy, but not for me because, you know, so many metastases so advanced that was not time to do, you know, chemotherapy. 3 years later was already lanreotide, octreotide, some stuff that was, you know, slowing down the promotion of the disease. When my metastases start, you know, appearing again, was already Lutathera, a new technique that was approved. You know, lanreotide was approved in 2014, I think. I started in 2015. Lutathera was approved in 2018-19. I already had it in 2020. Now I was told that there is a new Lutathera-like therapy that is not approved yet with actinium-221, but I am crossing my fingers. Probably, you know, if I need it, will be already approved in 1 year. Then what is the surprise? This, you know, the evolution is like we are in the middle of a revolution in you know, in the treatments for this kind of disease. And I think that if we don't give up, like the Hirshberg Foundation say, the motto, if we survive, if we fight, we have a chance, you know, the chance that in 6 months, in 1 year, in 2 years, if we survive, we can have the solution. There is not a guarantee for that, no, nothing, but it's a possibility, it's, you know, some chance that we have. And well, that is to me, the surprise is how the field is moving forward.
Finally.
You know, I have so much to say, and I didn't prep for this question, so I'm just going to pass it on for time's sake. But I do have a lot more to share.
Okay.
Oh, she yields her time.
You.
First of all, I was surprised that I have a pancreas. I didn't know I had one, nor where it was. I think one of the things I was surprised by is I have a caregiver that's been very, very, very helpful to me. And one day when I was walking across when I first got diagnosed, I was walking across the lobby at church, and it took me like 20 minutes because everybody kept stopping me and saying, "How are you doing? How are you doing?" And then they would try to say something and tell you a story that may or may not relate. And the two things she told, my caregiver told me while she was watching us, she says, "Okay, this is your new life. People are going to be in your business and asking you all the time," which was true. And she was just saying, it's really nice that people care for you. And she says, and no matter what they're saying, I think they mean well. And I always try to remember that. Because there's some crazy things I hear. Okay.
The aliens.
Yes, we'll get into the aliens later. But I think they do mean well. And there's sometimes where I'm thinking, I didn't sit in the chemo chair for 7 hours to hear this, but they mean well. And so I'm constantly I have to keep trying to give grace to people. And I also have to give grace to myself a lot of times. I don't feel really good a lot of days. And I have to just remember, it's like, okay, I think of all those that have gone before me. I am so thankful for the people that have gone on clinical trials to help move progress and help develop the drugs I'm on now. And I'm just like, okay, I want to be one of the people that help out. I want to help move this research forward, even if I break out in a rash, okay. But if it helps me or it helps somebody else down the line, I want to have the grace and strength to do that. And yeah, I've just been surprised how much that patience and grace has been necessary for all of us.
I think it surprised me how many organs you can live without. And the weight loss that comes from that. But you know, I think I've been surprised by, well, I don't even know if I'm surprised by it, but I used to be the person that organized a lot of things with my friends and my family, and everybody has stepped up. Not one person hasn't. My nieces and my nephews. My niece sent me these support yarn deals, these little yarn deals, and I showed them to my chemo nurses, and they said, oh, I wish we had these for everyone. And I called my niece, and we ordered everything they had in stock so that people could have them just for their, you know, while they were having chemo. And I've been surprised. I love the nurses that in my, you know, I go to see them, you know, I try to appreciate them. I bring them donuts and pie and stuff like that. And my doctors, what a team of doctors I have. You know, people have said Kaiser's a B team, and I don't think it is. I've had amazing doctors at Kaiser, amazing team. And I think I was surprised when my doctors called me to see, you know, my doctor called me on a Saturday morning to see how I was doing. And my doctor said, we care about you, Alice. And it was like, you know, I mean, this personal relationship that you begin to develop. And I've never been to the doctor that much, so I've never had to deal with the medical community like I have. And my partner of almost 29 years, we got married last year. And we just celebrated our 1 year, our 1 year anniversary. And she told my nieces and nephews that we had to get married because she was pregnant. You know, we're older. We're miracles. We could be a story in the Inquirer. But I think, you know, one of the things with group is when you see somebody and you know they're really in bad shape and they celebrate one day when they feel wonderful, just one day. And, you know, I think, you know, when I met you, I think just being able to hug the people in my group, and it's just, my tears are just pure joy at being able to see the people that I see on Fridays and have them be so tangible and so wonderful. And you know, I've always been a pretty grateful person, but I think, like everybody said, you just see things that you maybe wouldn't have ever seen before. And I think, you know, yeah.
So true that, you know, no matter your diagnosis, your lack thereof, you know, we only have today. That's the only thing that's for sure. Here we are today. What a great day. Now, lightning round. I was warning you guys were long-winded. Lightning round. One piece of practical advice for patients and or their caregivers. Federico.
Me?
Yeah.
don't believe in statistics. No, I love statistics. I have been working with the statistics in my life, in my career, a lot. I love it. But we need to be very careful, you know. I think that some physicians use a lot of statistics. And statistics are good for big populations, not for individuals, you know. To say that, well, you have 2 months of life, or 99% of the people die in 3 years. It's important to know that, but you need to be very careful because, you know, 1% could be a lot. I remember talking with my oncologist originally that, well, in LA, in the greater LA, you have more or less 15 million people. 1% is 150,000 people. That means that you say only 1%, well, who knows if I am one of these 150,000, you know? Then we need to be very careful. And I remember one very famous scientist, Stephen Jay Gould. He passed away already. He wrote some article about that because he was diagnosed with melanoma many years ago. And the physicians gave him 6 months to live. And he died 20 years later from a different problem. Then he wrote, said, be careful because you have, you know, the median, you know many people is dying, but there is a lot of people that survive. Who knows if you are not one of that?
Great. Lightning round.
I know. No, okay, I'm taking my time now. I'm not going to be lightning around. I take back my time because I do have 11 tips that I thought about for all of you and all of you out there that are my advice. So I'll go as quickly as possible.
You passed earlier,
No,
so you
I'm
get a
taking my
pass
time
now.
now.
Go.
1, take a deep breath. And just take a breath. 2, decide you will live. Believe you will heal. Your mind is a powerful part of this battle. Tip number 3, pray and accept the prayers of others. Tip number 4, clarify who and what you are living for. And I put it by my bedside. 5th, educate yourself. You're doing it all here today. I did everything from reading peer-reviewed PubMed articles to buying medical models and Play-Doh. And as my tumor changed, I understood how it was encapsulating the different arteries and veins and knew my anatomy. 6th tip, know that you're stronger than this disease. You're stronger than chemo. And you're strong enough to heal from the surgery. Tip number 7, recognize that you need others. PanCan is not a fly solo type of cancer. Seek out a cancer support group, whatever it is, and commit to it. I joined an in-person support group of women facing cancer, and then every Friday I have my PanCan Warrior group online with Thom and many people in this room that mean the world to me. You need a place to vent, to cry, to swap insider tips and jokes and laugh. And that leads me to my next tip. Laugh and laugh often. Whatever does it for you, an old sitcom or a funny movie or a stand-up comedy or maybe just your family around you. Whatever you need to do, laugh often. 9th tip, turn outward and accept help. Say yes to this entire new world of support organizations like PanCan and Hirshberg Foundation. Say yes to Sims Man Center. Say yes. 10th tip, get several second opinions because you'll learn something from each of those consults. And finally, 11th tip, seek out doctors who nurture and protect and grow your hope. That's it.
Okay, this is not a joke, okay? There's a lot of practical things I've thought of, and I don't have my 11 list. But at peterlau.com, it's not up there yet. I just started putting it up last night. I'm putting something up there that says practical tips. Some of them have to do with diapers. Some of them have to do Most of it has to do with check your insurance. That's one of the first things I think you need to do as soon as you get diagnosed. You need to get your options open. But I can steal some of these 11, put them up on the website, and please have no copyright infringement. But yeah, I do think 2 practical things are: you got to check your insurance, and you gotta realize you need help, both medically and. I really appreciate the session earlier where she was talking about developing your support community. That's been incredibly helpful to me. When I first got sick, I got 4 people around me, and I said, okay, you guys are going to protect me from everybody else and protect everyone else from me. You're going to take care of my communications, and they just helped take care of a lot of things that are going with me to medical appointments and things like that. But
Okay, well, they took mine. I would say one of the things that I just wrote was a love letter to my body. And it was really helpful for me to focus on how strong my body has been, what it's given me, what I have not given it for so long, you know, because I really like chocolate. Julie knows that. Amy knows that. But I think it's important to appreciate your body. I think it's important, really important, to have a support system, to have a doctor who believes that you can get healed or you can live a long time and supports that, because I believe, as everybody said, that we are not limited by a stat that tells us chemo is going to extend our lives for 3 months or 6 months. And I think that was something I heard at the beginning and sort of blocked out and didn't really take it in. And I'm glad I didn't take it in. Because I think there's so much that we can do that we have some control over. I think breathing is important. Just sitting somewhere where you become kind of mindful and maybe close your eyes and slow chest breathe and hear what's there, feel what's coming in at you. All of that, I think, is important. Therapy can be important if you do that, and I think caregivers need to be able to get away. They need to be able to have a break because they're taking in everything and they feel powerless quite often. Mm-hmm. And they're watching you in pain. And I think having them get away, that just happened for me. And one of my friends came and stayed with me. My sister came and stayed with me one time, and we had this great time as roommates. But it also gave my caregiver a break. And I think that's so important. So that's
100% there. Peter referenced something earlier about pancreas. What the hell is that? That was certainly my experience when I got my phone call. What do you wish people better understood about pancreatic cancer? Federico, why don't you go?
Well, I think that is, well, in my experience, it's pancreatic cancer, but I think that is for every cancer. I don't know if it happens to you, but many people don't like to mention the word cancer. Mm-hmm. It's like, you know, it's something that you should be ashamed of. Cancer, they are talking to me and they never mention cancer. It's like they keep everything, you know. And well, it's a disease. I am not happy having cancer, of course, but it's not that I am ashamed of having cancer. Then I think that to me it's important that the people take me and my personal situation in a natural way. It's like, you know, if we discuss about strokes or whatever, we can discuss about cancer. We can discuss about pancreatic cancer or liver cancer or whatever. But even in my family for several years, my mother especially, they never mentioned the word cancer in front of me. You know, like it was a forbidden topic. And I feel bad because it was part of my life. Not that I enjoy that, but it's something that I think that we need to be completely honest. You have a problem, we can discuss.
Right, right.
But there's something unique about pancreatic cancer.
Yeah.
Right? So you tell someone you have cancer, they just assume it's breast cancer, or in my case, and then you say, no, it's pancreatic, and then you go, and then there's the chin tuck. Oh, you know, like,
Yeah,
oh,
you
pancreatic
are
cancer. Oh,
dead.
and then silence, radio
No.
silence. And this is even like when you go to a cancer center, they're all talking about the cancer, and then you use it pancreatic in this radio silence, you know. So I hear you. I hear you about that silence when we can talk about it.
And look at other side.
Or use the chin tuck or the look up to the right corner, right? Yeah.
What do you want people to know?
What do you want people to know? And also like what to say and don't say.
Sure.
Part
Absolutely.
of that question. So that we can talk about it, like you were saying, that it's okay, it's part of our life and a reality. It's not helpful, I probably will butcher this, but like to mention all the stars that have died from pancreatic cancer. So I was getting blood drawn at the emergency room about a month ago, and the phlebotomist says, he looks at my chart and he looks up at me and he goes, did you hear about Patrick Swayze? And I said, yes, I know, I heard. And then they just list everybody they know and how dramatic it was and how terrible it was. And so how do I deal with that? I use it as a teachable moment. I say, yeah, he's celebrities and congressmen is in the news this week. You know, they're part of 67,000 people who will be diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in the United States, and I'm one of those people too. And everyone, you know, it touches everybody. So, and then what I wish they would do is realize that we don't need pity, we need accompaniment, and that's and that might be as simple as meeting us where we are. It might be as simple as saying, I really need a night out on the town to feel normal. Or it might just be, you're feeling really crappy today. Can I come have a cup of tea with you in the backyard? Like, I wish they would know that accompaniment means everything.
That's perfect. I mean, first of all, I didn't know what pancreatic cancer was, so how would I expect somebody else to know?
Yeah.
Secondly, when I first got diagnosed, I was just like, okay, we'll take it out. And they're like, no, I'm sorry, Mr. Lyle. And I'm like, what do I not understand about this? And that was a little bit seriously, for like 20 minutes. I was just like, what do I not understand about this, whatever you're talking about? All I know is I'm diabetic and I can't have pasta anymore. But, you know, you're telling me, it was just weird. I didn't understand it. So number one, I didn't understand it. I'm trying to understand it. But I think what Jeanette is saying, like I mentioned earlier, people feel like they have to say something. Patrick Swayze, Alec Trebek, they start talking about any celebrity.
Yeah.
And what she was just saying is just like, can you just come alongside me? You don't have to have an answer. You don't have to have a story. Just come alongside. I'm trying to figure this out, and I've been doing this for almost 3 years. I'm trying to understand the disease and how much my doctors are trying so hard. But there's a lot they don't know what's going on inside of me and trying to understand the disease. I don't expect a layperson to understand. So just come along, just be my friend. And that's something else, I'm sorry, real quick, is that you're my friend. You're not my doctor. Be my friend. You're my sister. I need you to be in that role more than my WebMD person, you know? You have a role in my life. Let's exploit that. Let's just totally dig into that. I can get anybody to do my laundry. Well, I can't, but if I can get other people to do my laundry, wash my car, maybe, but I only have one best friend, you know? Please be my best friend in this time. We'll find somebody else to help me change my oil later. So really, dig into the position, the role that you have. It's special, it's unique, and I can't manufacture it anywhere else. But anyway, so that has nothing to do with that question. But the last thing is, sorry, pancreatic cancer, just like everyone said, is not the same as every other cancer. Somebody that has breast cancer or, I don't know, some other form of cancer, they're all different. And even within the pancreatic cancer community, it is so different. What works for this person doesn't work for that person, vice versa. I'm sorry that this isn't going well, but it's going well for him. And it's just different. So we can't just gloss over it and say, well, you know, this treatment worked really great for this person, so that's what you've got to be on. It's different for everybody, and you got to, once again, you have to have grace for everybody in every situation. And I'm sorry, last thing I'm going to say. A year or two ago, I was talking to Aggie, and I was embarrassed because I was on a clinical trial, and it was doing well. And I didn't want to tell anybody because I have friends that are suffering and having a difficult time, having, you know, bad side effects. And I didn't want to tell them, hey, I'm doing well, my numbers are doing good, and I feel good. And Aggie said, you got to tell people. And I was like, why are you yelling at me? No, but no, she said very lovingly and firmly, you've got to tell people. You've got to let people know there's hope out there. And that changed everything for me. Now when anybody has good news, even if I have bad news for myself, I'm like, no, I'm going to take that as hope. There's progress. Maybe it won't work for me or this other person, but we're moving this thing forward. And yeah, people have to know we're not dying in 2 months. Not all of us. Some of us have a difficult time. But no, the doctors, they give their best prognosis, but they don't know what's going on inside of us. And we'll go explore this together, you know? You and your doctor will hopefully figure this out. But nobody knows, but it's okay to put out the hope out there. And look, you got a panel. Look, I want to be Federico, okay? He's so laid back, and he's, you know, what, 14 years?
We'll do this.
And we've got people up here, 2, 3, we've got 10-year survivors, 15-year survivors out here. People have to know this disease is dangerous. We don't understand a lot about it, but it doesn't mean there's no hope. We definitely have hope.
Amen.
I think that one of the things that was important to me was to realize that medicine is not an exact science, and that the doctors are struggling like we're struggling. And if we expect them to have all the answers, that they don't. And that it's important, you know, I always think if one of my doctors does something and it doesn't work out real well for me, that I believe that they're coming from the best possible place. And doctors in pancreatic cancer are sort of amazing to me. They're, the fire in their gut, the doctors I've met, has just been amazing. And the dedication to try to do something, you know, different has been amazing. So that, and the other thing is, I really believe that whatever somebody is coming at me, even if they ask a question or say something that I don't think is the greatest thing to say, I know that they care about me. And I know that they're not saying anything with any intention of making me feel bad, any intention of making, you know, anything like that. So I think it's important to pay attention to that. It's important to pay attention to people's goodwill. I can't think in this journey, I mean, I've certainly felt bad. I've certainly been sick. I've certainly had days where I just wish I didn't have to deal with it. But for the most part, I think what I have learned in this process has been really important. And I think that when you are paying attention, I know one of the other things I want to say. For me, being able to work has been a lifesaver, because I do not want to sit around every day and have a lot of time to recognize every nuance of change in my body. You know, Bernard Shaw said, to be miserable, one must have the leisure to do so. And I have kept myself, I mean, with working and the work that I do, I'm focused on other people. And, you know, Danelia knows this. You're focused on somebody else's issues. So you're not just into yourself, you're out of yourself. And the other thing is, I love to dance. And when you do something physical, when you do something that you enjoy, you're out of your head. And I think being out of your head part of the time, and I don't mean out of your mind, I mean just out of your head, you know, it allows you to experience life differently and experience joy differently. And that's critical, I think, for all of us, for our quality of life and for our extension of life. That's it for me.
Great. Lisa, do we have time for questions? Or- Okay, so, well, we saved the best for last. And I want to thank you people for sharing your thoughts. It was really meaningful to me to hear from every one of you. So thank you for doing it. Let's give them a big round.
I love it.